guys! As many of you are aware, the in-development MMORPG Monsters and Memories had their very first public stress test this past Friday and Saturday. I had the pleasure of being able to test for a couple of hours on the Friday with many of our friends from the Pantheon Plus community. So today I wanted to discuss how I felt the test went, my first impressions of the game, and is the game meeting the classically spirited MMO expectations so far? So let's dive right in. So part of the stated goal for this stress test was to test the download and installation of the game, which for me went flawlessly. Very easy and straightforward with no hitches. When I logged in, I went directly to server select and then character creation. The first thing I noticed was that there were already 18 classes to choose from, as well as 12 races. Now only 3 of the races were playable at this time, those being the gnome, human, and ogre. I made a human beastmaster. All of that went very smoothly and I logged right into the game. As soon as I logged in, I was surrounded by a sea of characters. With so many new characters being made at once, there was of course a ton of lag. Because of this, trying to figure out how to get spells out of my inventory, into my spellbook, and then onto the 2 different bars became exceptionally difficult. Even if I had clicked the right area, the lag took so long to put the spell where it belonged, it felt like I'd made a mistake and would try another area. There was a lot of confusion to be had by all. To make it even more confusing, there were 3 tabs in my spellbook for skills, innates, and spells. I wasn't sure which of my new scrolls went on which tab. It turned out that for the Beastmaster, one was a skill and one was a spell. After all that was sorted out and I got them scribed to the book, I needed to figure out which ability bar they went on. After much trial and error and chatter in the Discord, we figured out that first they go onto the command bar on the right, and then you can put them onto the spell bar at the bottom of the screen. The lag made this pretty straightforward task a lot harder than it would normally have been, being a new player. About a half hour into the test, the developers opened up a second and then a third server. Once people settled onto different servers and the population spread out a bit, the game became a bit smoother, and we were able to start the process of finding our friends and grouping up. While wandering around the city trying to find each other, we found things like the bank already functioning, different merchants to sell to, as well as some pretty cool points of interest. The lag was still an issue, as well as some server crashes, but we kept at it, trying to navigate the new, unfamiliar city with no map or compass and getting kicked every once in a while. After about an hour and a half, the lag became much less, with the population having spread out more evenly over the 3 servers and possibly a chunk of people logging out. I know a few people from our community decided to log out during this time, so I'm assuming others did as well. But eventually, success. We managed to meet up and then figure out the different bugs that were keeping us from inviting each other. It felt like a grand victory.
I love
Get it?
spell effects, dude.
Woo! Yes.
Right.
Look at
Yay!
We're unstoppable.
Let's get that rat.
It only took us an hour and a half.
that. We are experts at
It
MMOs.
is literally.
Now we could get to the fun stuff. Slaughtering the foes out in the newbie yard. We headed out and found our first snake to kill. For the next half hour, there was a lot less lag. We managed to stay grouped, fight some pretty fun battles, and even had a few deaths. We ran to the guards and sometimes they would help, and at other times would mercilessly stand by as a baddie slayed us at their feet. All in all, I really enjoyed the combat. It had that old school grindy feel, as well as always the sense of danger that each fight could go south, even with a full group. Once we all hit level 2, which was around the 2-hour mark, most of our group decided to log for the night. The exception to that was Bounty Code, who stayed on the entire Friday test session until around 1:15 in the morning, with no crashes and 238 people still on server 1 with him at the end. So, How do I feel this test session went? To me, it was an absolute success. They wanted to see how the download and installation went. It was super smooth. They wanted to see how the servers performed, and I'm sure they got a ton of data from the 1,000+ people that hit the original server, so they added 2 more. I considered it a success just for the fact that I got in and was able to play with friends and fight mobs. That was beyond what I expected, and I had a great time. Hopefully this stress test will ensure future tests that focus on gameplay in general and other facets of the game. My first impression of the game is that it definitely has that old EverQuest feel. The starting area reminded me of the starting area in Freeport, while inside the city and some of the points of interest reminded me of Kinos. The inventory and spellbook, as well as spell gems and casting bars, all felt familiar and easy to jump in and figure out once the lag monster was defeated. I also have to be sure to add that the music was top notch. I heard so many people commenting on just how amazing it was. 10 out of 10. So, does this game, still very early in its development, succeed in hitting those old school, classically spirited MMO feels? Absolutely 100%. It felt like home, with its tab target, grindy combat, constant sense of danger, spell casting, classic classes and races, and nostalgic feeling zones. This is a game I know I'll be keeping an eye on. So, do you think you'll be joining in on the next stress test, or will you wait until it's further along in its development before hopping in? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.